weird yet interestingly useful tools for miniature painting. We have a lot of conventional tools in the hobby and a fair amount of unconventional tools in the hobby, but that doesn't mean that they aren't useful. Welcome to Hobby MoPro, the show where we talk about everything motivation and productivity in our miniature painting hobby. Today we're going to talk about 5 tools on my hobby desk that are actually pretty useful when I paint my miniatures. So the first tool is your syringe in a water cup. So this is the water cup, and this, oh my gosh, that's the water in the syringe. It's just like a plastic syringe. It's a medical syringe without the needle, and I use this to suck up some water from the hobby cup and use the syringe to control the amount of water I can put back into my wet palette over here. And it's just one of the weird fancy ways on how I control putting water on my wet palette whenever my wet palette feels like or looks like it needs to hydrate after a long hobby session. When I open up my wet palette, I already have some wax paper and some paints over there, but most of the time I don't want to take off that wax paper to rehydrate my palette. So instead of bringing it all the way to the kitchen or the bathroom sink, I just pick up my syringe, get some water, and then carefully put some water at the edges of our wet palette. It's the same as when some hobbyists use a pipette or a dropper bottle for their hydration methods. So my second unusual tool is what I call the mystery jar, which used to be a giant jar of Vallejo black wash, and now I just fill it in with excess wash that I don't use. And when I say excess wash that I don't use, I'm talking about any kind of wash, as long as it's wash that's either left on my palette or left on my dry palettes. And I feel most of the time I don't want that paint to go to waste, and sometimes those paints are mixed with other paints, so I can't bring it back into the original jar. So instead I recycle it and mix it all together in this black greenish jar. So it's pretty greenish right now, you can tell, because I guess I've been using a lot of green wash recently, and a lot of excess green wash that's mixed with other paints goes in here. And the beauty about the mystery jar is not only am I recycling and making the most out of my paints, but the colors change as the seasons change. If I use more brown wash, if I use more excess brown wash and I put more brown wash into that, it becomes more of a brownish tinge. So right now I have a greenish blackish tinge, so if I do need that and I don't want to waste any of my other washes or paints, I reach for that mystery jar. It's a great way to recycle and make the most out of your paints, especially if you're the type of painter who has a lot of excess paint left after a session and then you don't want it to go to waste. Put it in your excess jar, put it in your mystery jar, and see what colors you get for washes in the future. Who knows, you might make an interesting color afterwards. Let's actually try it out now with this white base that I primed. Let's see what type of color we get with today's mystery jar color. My third tool is actually not so unconventional. It's just everyday blue tack, which we all use to, stick our minis into our holders so that they don't fall off. Well, the reason why I include the blue tack into my list is because whenever I have old blue tack that I'm done using, I don't really throw it away, but I just keep it on the side of my table. And whenever I have small bits and bobs like these paintbrush holders, I always misplace them. So I stick them to the blue tack. It works well whenever I'm building something and I have a lot of small greeblies that I don't want to get lost. As I'm building, the small bits are kept safe in the blue tack. So it's a great space to keep things sort of loose-proof and organized at the same time. And as you've been seeing earlier, previously, you've been noticing my fourth unconventional tool, which are these building blocks. And these building blocks are really cool because I just found them in the garage sale, and these building blocks are just pure wood. So not only do they make cool, simple looking miniature holders, but they also make for great plinths whenever I need them, and they're really cheap too. A really great unconventional tool. If you have a lot of old toys, dig up your building blocks and use them as your miniature holder / plinths. Last but not the least are what I call my pokers and my prodders. In the spirit of reusing and solid waste management, our hobby is not exactly the most friendly to the environment. So I like to reuse even the sprues. I put this in a sort of pile to my right, which I call my pokers and my prodders and sticks. And most of the time I use the excess sprues to act as holders for sub-assemblies, or sometimes if I need to move some material around or glue around and a specific tool doesn't really reach it, I reach to my pile of prodders and pokers, and sometimes there's a paper clip there. So whatever old items that I've used and bent up, like paper clips and sticks, I don't immediately throw it away. I just put it on my side, and whenever I need to poke something, there's something on the side over there. So I see a lot of hobbyists, they use a barbecue sticks, and that's a great tool. It's more uniform, more dependable, because you get exactly the same shape. But again, in the spirit of reusing, I really endure with whatever stick or long materials I have on my right. I hope I gave you guys a different perspective when looking at hobby tools, and maybe I tapped into your resourcefulness a little bit. And maybe the next time you look at some hobby tools or a toy, you might think this could be great for the hobby and might save you both money and also recycle to some certain degree. What are your weird hobby tools in your desk that not a lot of hobbyists have? Do share it below. I want to see and get more ideas on what other items could be turned into useful hobby materials. That's the beauty of this hobby, I believe. We're both creating with our model kits, but at the same time we're realizing our creativity and channeling our resourcefulness whenever we kit bash, whenever we paint something, whenever we create something, and we look outside of our hobby table and we look at other objects around the world and we realize, I can use that for my hobby. I can use that for this. I can use this for that. And it just makes me realize and makes me love the hobby more and more thankful in the hobby, because the creativity and our creative muscles just get more exercised when we utilize other tools to make our hobby experience better. Do subscribe if you like this episode. There's one episode every Wednesday. My name is Louie from Louie Loves Minis, reminding you to hobby every day to keep the sprues away.